I never meant to notice her. It just happened, the way some songs stay in your head long after the music stops. It was late afternoon when I first saw Alara again. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, sunlight catching the silver strands in her dark hair. Her sleeves rolled up as if she'd just given up on cleaning something she didn't really care about. I was there to pick up my girlfriend, Lena, but she was running late, as usual. So it was just the two of us, me and Alara, with a too-quiet house between us. "You still take your coffee black?" she asked, already pouring. Her voice had that kind of warmth that sneaks under your skin, calm, slow, and careful, like she didn't want to wake anything sleeping inside me. "Yeah," I said, pretending not to remember that she used to know that already. She smiled then, soft, distracted, and looked out the window. "You always notice what others don't," she said, almost to herself. "Even when you shouldn't." I didn't know what to say to that. Maybe she didn't expect me to. The air between us felt heavier than it should have. The sound of the refrigerator hummed too loud. She kept tracing the rim of her cup, not drinking. I wanted to ask her what she meant about noticing, but something about the way her eyes lingered told me I already knew. There's a kind of beauty that isn't meant to be looked at too long. Alara was that kind of beautiful. Not in the glossy, perfect way her younger sister was, but in the quiet, lived-in way that makes you feel like you're trespassing just by looking. "How's Lena?" she asked finally. "She's good," I said. "Busy." Alara nodded, but didn't smile this time. She's always been busy. It wasn't judgment, more like observation. Still, it landed hard. She looked at me then, and for a second, I swear it felt like she saw right through me. All the things I hadn't said, the doubts I didn't admit even to myself. I laughed softly, trying to shake the tension. "You're still the same, huh? Always reading people." She tilted her head. "Maybe. Or maybe people don't hide as well as they think." I took a sip of the coffee she'd poured. It was too bitter, too strong, but I drank it anyway. The silence stretched again. Outside, a small breeze pushed against the curtains, the smell of rain lingering just before it started. She spoke quietly. "You know, when Lena told me she was seeing someone, I didn't expect it to be you." "Why?" I asked a little too quickly. Her gaze didn't waver. "Because you look at things like they matter. That's dangerous, sometimes." Her words sat between us like a confession. Or maybe a warning. I set the cup down, fingers brushing the counter near hers, not touching, but close enough to feel the pull. She didn't move away. She just breathed in, slow and deliberate, like she'd been holding her breath since I arrived. Something shifted in that moment. Not loud, not obvious, just real. The kind of shift that changes everything, even if you pretend it doesn't. And then the doorbell rang. Lena's voice echoed faintly from outside, laughing, calling my name. Alara stepped back, breaking the closeness like it never existed. But before she turned away, she smiled again, small, knowing, and entirely impossible to forget. "You always notice what others don't," she said once more. This time, it didn't sound like a compliment. "Lena canceled last minute. A work emergency," she said, something about deadlines and a client who wouldn't wait. So when I showed up at the restaurant, the table for 3 had become a table for 2. Alara was already there. She looked up from her phone when I walked in, that same calm smile on her lips. "Guess it's just us, then." I almost turned around, I should have, but I didn't. Something in the way she said it, casual but careful, made me stay. We sat across from each other in a small corner booth. The light was low, amber spilling across the tablecloth. She wore a dark green dress, nothing fancy, but the kind of thing that made you look twice because it didn't need a try. I tried to fill the silence with small talk. "So, still at the university?" "Not anymore," she said, stirring her wine. "I left last year. Too much pretending, not enough living." I nodded, unsure what that meant. She looked up, as if reading the question in my face. When you teach long enough, you start hearing your own advice echo back at you. And it gets hard to ignore what you're not doing yourself. "What were you teaching?" "Psychology." I laughed softly. "That explains a lot." She smiled. "You think I'm analyzing you?" A little. Maybe I am, she said, eyes steady. You're easy to read. That shouldn't have felt like an invitation, but it did. The waiter came and went. Plates arrived, mostly untouched. The conversation drifted. Her marriage, the divorce, the quiet that followed. He was kind, she said after a pause. But kindness isn't the same as closeness. We just stopped reaching for each other. I didn't know what to say, so I told her something I hadn't meant to. My parents were like that. They used to talk in half sentences, like they were afraid of finishing them. She tilted her head, eyes soft. And you? Do you finish yours? Only when I know it's safe. For a moment, we just sat there, the air heavy with what neither of us said next. Outside, the rain had started again, tapping against the windows. Inside, everything felt still. Too still. She leaned back slightly, watching me. You know this isn't a good idea, right? Dinner? I asked. Her lips curved, but her eyes didn't. No. Us pretending we don't feel something we shouldn't. I looked down at my hands, the half-empty glass, the faint reflection of her in the window. My heart was too loud. You're my girlfriend's sister, Ilara. I know, she whispered. That's the worst part. When the bill came, neither of us moved to grab it. She reached first, fingers brushing mine, just enough to freeze me. She didn't pull away right away. Neither did I. It wasn't a long touch, not even a full second, but it changed something, the kind of quiet shift that couldn't be undone. Later, when she walked me to my car, she said softly, "Tell Lena I'm sorry she missed dinner." And before I could answer, she reached up, fixed the collar of my shirt, slow and gentle, her thumb lingering just a little too long near my throat. Then she stepped back, eyes steady. "Good night, Aaron." The rain started falling harder, blurring the space between us, but her voice, that low, steady calm, stayed with me all the way home. I told myself I wouldn't go. I even drove past her street, twice, before the storm made the decision for me. The rain was merciless, drumming against the windshield like it wanted to wash something clean. I parked a block away from Ilara's house, palms gripping the steering wheel so tightly they hurt. I told myself I was just making sure she got home safe. That's all. But lies sound more convincing when you whisper them to yourself in the dark. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised, just tired and beautiful in that quiet, effortless way that makes you forget how to breathe. "Aaron," she said softly, leaning against the frame. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," I said, "but it's pouring." She stepped aside anyway. The house smelled like rain and candle wax. A record played faintly in another room, something old, full of piano and distance. Her hair was damp, strands curling near her neck. "You're soaked," she said, reaching for a towel. "You'll catch a cold." I laughed, nervous. That's the least of my problems. Her eyes flicked to mine. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't what?" "Say things you'll regret later." But her voice didn't sound like a warning this time. It sounded like surrender. We stood in the living room, the rain roaring outside like it was holding its breath for us. The world felt small, folded in around that moment. "You didn't tell her about dinner," she said quietly. I hesitated. No, she deserves honesty. She also deserves not to get hurt. Ilara exhaled, shoulders sinking. "You sound just like him." "Who?" "My ex. Always protecting people from the truth." Her voice cracked, just a little, and that small sound broke something open inside me. Without thinking, I reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. She froze, eyes locked on mine. "Aaron, tell me to stop," I said, but she didn't. The space between us disappeared, just breath and silence, and something dangerously alive. My fingers found her jaw, my thumb tracing the edge of her lip, close enough to feel warmth, not enough to cross the line. Then headlights flashed across the window. We both jumped. A car pulled into the driveway. Lena's voice carried faintly through the rain, calling out for her sister. Ilara stepped back, shaking her head, her hand trembling slightly. "Go," she whispered. "Please." I didn't move. "Ilara, now." Her tone wasn't soft anymore. It was pleading. I slipped out the back door, the rain hitting me like a punishment. My chest felt hollow, every heartbeat echoing with the sound of her voice. From inside, I heard every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alera's face in the rain, eyes wide, lips trembling, caught between guilt and something we both refused to name. We hadn't kissed, but somehow that made it worse. It started with a photo I wasn't supposed to see. Lena had asked me to grab her charger from Alera's study while she cooked. I told her sure, too casually, maybe, and walked down the narrow hallway that still smelled faintly of cedar and rain. The study door was half open. On the desk, under a stack of papers, something glinted, a small silver frame. It was me, not a posed picture, not something Lena had taken. It was from that night at the restaurant. My hand on the table, glass half full, eyes somewhere just off camera. I didn't remember her taking it. I froze. My first thought was, why? The second, she kept it. Alera. Lena's voice called from the kitchen. I barely had time to put the frame back before Alera appeared in the doorway. Her eyes went to the desk, too fast. Then to me. The air cracked. You shouldn't be in here, she said, low but steady. I started, but the light died halfway out. You took that picture. Her jaw tightened. Delete it from your head, Aaron. I can't. You have to. I took a step closer. Why did you keep it? She didn't answer. Just stood there, hands trembling slightly at her sides, breath uneven. The candle beside the window flickered, making her face look like a painting trying to decide whether to burn or fade. Because, she said finally, it reminded me of something I shouldn't want. The silence that followed was suffocating. Alera, don't, she said, backing up. Don't make me explain this. You're young. You don't understand. Stop saying that. Then what do you want me to say? That you feel it too. Her eyes met mine, raw, unguarded. And for a second, she didn't look like Lena's sister or a woman twice my age. She just looked tired of pretending. She took another step back, bumping into the edge of the desk. The photo frame fell, face down, the sound sharp and final. We both flinched. Alera. I said again, softer this time. Tell me to leave, and I will. She looked like she wanted to. God, she tried to. Her mouth opened, but the words never came. Instead, she whispered, You make it impossible to breathe when you look at me like that. My chest tightened. I didn't move, didn't trust myself to. She reached out, just a hand, shaking, and for a heartbeat I thought she'd touch my face. But her fingers stopped inches away, trembling in the air between us. Please, she whispered, don't make me do something I can't undo. I swallowed hard, every nerve in my body screaming to close that distance. Then, Lena's laughter echoed again from the kitchen, closer this time. Alera's hand dropped. Her eyes said everything her voice didn't. This has to end. But when she turned away, I saw her shoulders tremble, just once, and knew it hadn't. Not yet. For a week, we didn't talk. Not a text, not a glance. Lena said Alera had gone out of town, some university thing. But when I drove past her house one night, all the lights were on. I told myself I was just curious. But curiosity is just desire trying to sound reasonable. I parked down the street and sat there for 10 minutes before walking up to the porch. I didn't knock. I just waited. And when she opened the door, barefoot, wearing one of those soft sweaters that look like they remember every touch, she didn't even act surprised. You shouldn't be here, she whispered again. The same words, the same tone as before. But this time, she didn't step aside. She closed the door behind me. The air smelled like rain again, though the night was clear. Maybe that's what guilt smells like, something that lingers even after the storm is gone. I saw the photo, I said quietly. Her breath hitched, but she didn't deny it. I didn't take it for you to see. Then why keep it? She looked down at her hands, fingers twisting the edge of her sleeve. Because sometimes keeping something is the only way not to lose it. Even if it hurts someone, her eyes lifted. Especially then. The silence between us burned. I took a step closer. You can keep lying to yourself, Alera. But don't lie to me. Aaron, stop, I didn't. I kissed her. It wasn't planned. It just happened like gravity winning a long argument. For a second, she froze. Then she kissed me back, hard, desperate, like she'd been holding her breath for years. And then she pushed me away. "Don't," she said, voice breaking. "Please don't." Her hands were shaking. "You think you know what you want, but you don't. You'll hate me for this." And Lena, she stopped. The name felt like a wound. I backed up chest height. "You think I haven't thought about her? I do. Every day. That's what makes this real." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but then her phone buzzed on the table. A text from Lena. "Lena, can we talk? I know about the photo." The world tilted. Alara's face drained of color. She saw it? I don't know how. I started, but she was already grabbing her phone, pacing. "She was here earlier," Alara whispered. I left the frame on the desk. "Oh God." I tried to reach her, but she pulled away. "No, don't. You have to leave. Now." "Alara, please, Aaron." Her voice cracked. "She's not stupid. She's coming." Outside, a car door slammed. Headlights swept through the living room window, harsh, white, final. Alara turned to me, eyes wide, tears catching the light. "This is the part," she whispered, "where everything breaks." And then the front doorknob turned. The headlights cut through the room like a confession. Lena's car door slammed again. The sound was final, the kind of sound that ends pretending. Alara stood frozen near the window. I could see her reflection trembling against the glass, one hand over her mouth, the other gripping her phone like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "She knows," she whispered. "I can see it in the way she parks." Her voice was thin, breaking. "You have to go, Aaron. Please, I'm not leaving you alone in this." She turned, eyes raw. "You already did." The words hit like a slap. Not cruel, just true. I wanted to argue, to fix it, but what could I say? Everything that mattered was already out there, visible in the spaces between us. A knock came. Sharp. Then another. "Ellie? You home?" Lena's voice, lighter than it should have been. Too calm. Alara's breath hitched. She calls me when she's trying not to cry. My throat tightened. "You need to hide," she whispered. "Go out the back." "No," I said. "I'll talk to her." She shook her head, stepping closer. "Don't. You'll ruin what's left of her." "And what about you?" "I'm already ruined." The doorbell rang again. We both stood there, neither moving. Then Alara took my hand, not in passion, not in panic, but like someone memorizing something for the last time. Her fingers were cold. "When this door opens," she said quietly, "whatever we had ends." I nodded but didn't let go. "Tell me it didn't mean nothing." Her eyes filled. Not tears, not yet, just the weight of everything unsaid. It meant everything. That's the problem. Then, gently, she pulled her hand free. She went to the door, opened it. From a hallway, I heard Lena's voice, low, shaking. "Why didn't you tell me, Ellie? I didn't want to hurt you." "You already did." There was a pause, a silence that sounded like a heart breaking in slow motion. "Is he here?" Lena asked. Alara hesitated. No, the lie cut deeper than the truth would have. I slipped quietly through the back door. The night air was sharp, cold, unforgiving. Each raindrop that hit my face felt earned. From inside, I heard muffled sobs. I couldn't tell whose they were. Maybe both. Weeks passed. No calls. No messages. Just space. Wide, unbearable space. Then one morning, a letter came. No name, no return address. Just a short note inside, written in Alara's looping handwriting. "You were right. Love and ruin are sometimes the same thing. I hope you find peace where I couldn't." No signature. No closure. Just the faint smell of rain on the paper. I folded the letter and stared out the window. The city, still half asleep. For the first time in months, I didn't feel angry or guilty. Just still. Some loves don't end. They just live quietly in the distance, in the space between memory and forgiveness. 6 months later, I saw her again. It wasn't planned. I was in a bookstore downtown, flipping through a shelf I didn't care about. When I felt it, that quiet awareness, the kind that makes your pulse shift before your eyes confirm it. Alara stood near the window, her hair shorter now, streaked lighter by the summer sun. She looked different. Not younger, not older. Just lighter, like someone who had finally stopped running. For a second, I thought about walking away, pretending I hadn't seen her. But she turned first, and when her eyes found mine, all the air left the room. "Aaron," she said softly. "Alara." We both smiled, awkward at first, then easier. Like two people remembering something fragile without breaking it. We went for coffee, not black this time. She ordered tea. I copied her without thinking. The small cafe was quiet, the kind of place where even whispers sounded too loud. "How's Lena?" I asked after a pause. "She's better," Alara said. "Moved in with someone new. He's kind." I nodded. "Good." Alara looked at me for a moment, studying me the way she used to, like she could see past the practice calm. "And you?" "I'm trying to live a little slower," I said. "Still notice the small things." She smiled. "You always did." For a while, we didn't talk. Just sat there, two people surrounded by what-ifs. There was no accusation, no tension, no trace of the storm that had once ripped everything open. Finally, she said, "I kept that photo." I looked up. "The one from the restaurant," she continued. Not because of what it meant, but because it reminded me I could still feel something, even if it was wrong. Her voice trembled, then steadied. "I used to think love was about choosing the right person. But maybe it's about learning what kind of person you become when it's not." I didn't know how to answer that, so I didn't. I just reached across the table, my fingers brushing hers. No hesitation, no guilt this time. Just warmth. She didn't pull away. "Do you ever think," I asked quietly, "that if we'd met at another time, this would have been easy?" She smiled, a real one this time. "If it had been easy, we wouldn't have learned anything." When we left, the air outside smelled faintly of rain again. Some things never change. At the corner, she stopped. "This is me," she said. I nodded. The goodbye sat there between us, unspoken, familiar. She leaned forward, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Thank you for noticing." And then she walked away. No looking back, no music, just the sound of her footsteps fading into the city noise. I stood there for a long time, watching the space she left behind. It didn't hurt anymore. It just existed. Some people don't stay in your life. They stay in your understanding of it. And sometimes that's enough. Thobaloon, did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? More forbidden romance, emotional realism, or second chances?